The spiritual practice of adventure. Are you intrigued yet? Okay. Well, when you think of adventure, you may think of something like King Arthur or Indiana Jones, right? Did you know that Indiana Jones was marketed as the ultimate hero in the ultimate adventure? It's true. It's on the poster. Must be true. Or maybe you think of someone like Mr. Amundsen, who along with 4 others were the first to reach the geographic South Pole, or Lewis and Clark, who explored the West, or as we have just marked the anniversary of the moon landing, you think of brave astronauts who strapped themselves to a rocket and gone where no human has gone before. Now, certainly these are the extreme version of adventure, and it may seem like now that we have the whole world mapped out and you can see it up close on Google Maps at any time, it may not seem like there's much left to explore. But today we're going to talk about the adventurer in all of us. Now, the dictionary defines adventure as 1, an exciting or very unusual experience. Number 2, participation in exciting undertakings or enterprises, i.e. the spirit of adventure. Number 3, a bold, usually risky undertaking, hazardous action of uncertain outcome. Number 4, a commercial or financial speculation of any kind, i.e. venture. Now, on Friday, Unity Village Chapel is doing a movie series, and they showed the movie about Joseph Campbell called Finding Joe. Now, in this, they discuss the hero's journey, and the main idea of Campbell's is that, and I was like, ooh, isn't that nice that I watched that on Friday, and we're doing a talk about adventure on Sunday. I love when that works out like that. And I almost didn't go. My friend texted me and says, are you going? And I was like, okay, fine. Anyway, so Joseph Campbell, he studied, in case you don't know, he studied thousands of myths and stories from traditions all over the world. And through studying this, he brought forth what he considered the essence of what all these stories were, which was the hero's journey. Now, the hero's journey, this is like the really quick version of what he said. The hero's journey starts with a call to adventure, which is also known as a separation or a departure. And this is when the hero decides that there's something that they need to change. Or it could be a time of rite of passage. It could be when there's a change in their village. Or it could be when the inner call of spirit is saying, go. Now, we all know people, I'm not going to say any of us, but we all know people probably who have fought the call of spirit. And it can get to be quite a big fight when we're fighting the call of spirit because we have lots of excuses about why we shouldn't. Oh, well, but the kids. Oh, but the money. Oh, but my mother-in-law. Oh, whatever it is, right? We have lots of reasons why we can't do this big dream that we have, but eventually, hopefully, we get over it and do it. So fighting the call is kind of a normal thing to do. You know, you've had many ministerial students come here, and if you ask them, half of them will at least half of them will have a story about how they fought for years and decades. So initiation is the next kind of main phase of the hero's journey, and that's where the adventure happens. It's where you find demons to fight, figuratively, usually. It's where you find allies to help. It's where you discover things that you'd like to discover, and things that you'd probably rather not like to discover. So you get to find out, oh, wow, I'm a lot more strong and compassionate and all these other great things than I ever thought I was, because you're in situations to find that out. But you also find out that maybe you're more selfish than you thought you were, or you're more whatever it is than you'd like to admit. So you get to face all the stuff. Oh, darn. And then eventually you get to the big moment where you have the big epic fight with the big demon, whatever that is. And in that, some part of you has to die so a new part of you can be reborn. reborn into more clarity and clearness of who you really are. And then there's things that you don't even know was possible. And so once you're reborn and you receive this prize, whether it's a thing, such as like a holy grail, for instance, or it's a revelation, like the Buddha had a revelation, you return and you share your knowledge/prize. And of course, this is a cycle that doesn't just happen once in our lifetimes. It happens over and over and over again. We get called deeper, called higher, called to do the next grand adventure. That's part of our life. So, like I said, there's a big, super quick summary, and there's lots of variations, but that's kind of the main gist of the hero's journey. And it's really, was a really great little film. Joseph Campbell said, "We must be willing to get rid of the life we've planned, so we have the life that's waiting for us." So, how do we know what to do? Well, some of you have probably already nodding with knowing. You've already taken a journey, and you know the pain and joy of transformation. And one of the most oft-quoted lines from Joseph Campbell is, "Follow your bliss." Now, in the movie, they talk about how that's not always very understood very well. People think it means some sort of frivolous, like, I'm going to follow my bliss today, like I'm going to follow a butterfly. And that's not exactly what they're talking about, though I suppose if you're an entomologist that studies, whatever it is, that studies butterflies, then maybe that's what it is. But I would say that my interpretation of follow bliss means, what's that inner fire of joy within you that cannot be put out? That's the knowing of what your calling is, that's deep within you, that there is no matter what dark demons are in you, you still have that fire, that light. So, like that, some friends of mine, a young couple, decided to hike the Appalachian Trail, which is, in case you were wondering, 2,180 miles long from Georgia to Maine. It is the elevation rise that you hike on that trip is equal to 16 Mount Everests. Right? So I actually haven't heard the story of what called them to do this particular thing, but I know that they're both outdoorsy people. They like hiking and camping, and they're from Colorado, so, that pretty much explains it all, I guess. So for, quite some time, they gathered their stuff, they planned, they took practice trips and hikes and stuff, and they went and they did it. It was 2 years ago, and they probably would have made it except for they were on the home stretch, and then those big snowstorms came in kind of early, and they got stuck in snow, and that kind of was time to go home, unfortunately. So they did actually go back and finish, which was cool, but they didn't get to do it all the way through. Now, after returning, they posted many beautiful pictures, as you can imagine, of their adventures and their journeys. But that wasn't what was most inspiring. What was inspiring was the words that they used to describe their journey. Because it wasn't just a walking down a trail type of adventure. This was a find out everything about yourself kind of adventure. Because 2,000 plus miles and 16 Mount Everests is hard, and you find out how much you actually have in you to overcome, and how much that you can, and the strength that you have within you, and all of that stuff. And if you spend half a year hiking in the woods with only sporadic connection to the outside world, and you do it all with your spouse, they get major points for that, right? And their relationship was already fabulous, but, they're just so rock solid. It's an amazing, amazing adventure that they went on. Definitely an adventure. Now, some of you are probably familiar with Elizabeth Gilbert because she wrote Eat, Pray, Love, and that was quite a phenomenon. You're all shaking your heads, most of you, that's good. In case you don't know, she went on this adventure of self-discovery for a year. She went to Italy, India, and Indonesia. Her journey has inspired countless people to step out on a journey of finding themselves. Now, I personally kind of shook my head when I heard that people were swarming to this exact same ashram that she went to and go find the exact same whatever that she did on the trip, thinking that if they did that, they could carbon copy her experience for themselves. They obviously didn't get the point. Because in Elizabeth herself, I saw her on Oprah, and she's like, you don't have to go anywhere to have the experience that I had. I just happened to do it in these places. You can have the spiritual adventure in your own home. Because if I'm trying to follow what you did and have the exact same results, I've forgotten something, which is that we've had a different experience getting to the point we're at right now. We've had different heartaches. We've had different joys. We've had different parents. We've had different hometowns. We've had different everything. And so how could I expect that the same route that you took to find your journey would be the same route that I need to take for my spiritual journey? So we need to look at her story and use that as a reminder of strength and courage, vulnerability and triumph over and willingness to go there. Not there. Not that we need to go where she went, but that it was about following the call of immersing herself in the new experience, about being called and being willing. And now you might say, I don't have a year to travel like Elizabeth Gilbert, or the budget maybe. I don't have 6 months to hike the Appalachian Trail. But that's okay, because we know it's not about the location, right? We're all smart enough to know it's not about the location. And sometimes you only need to go around the corner to shake off the dust of the routine that you're in. You do need to shake off the dust of the routine sometimes. Now, Thursday is the only day of the week that both my husband and I are off work. So Thursday is not always, but sometimes it's adventure day. And, if you only have a day, it's not like we can go on a big trip. So we're exploring what the greater area has to offer. And since last week was my sister's birthday, we went on a birthday adventure. I know. And so we kept the destination a surprise for my sister because she likes surprises and she likes adventures. And she asked some very important questions. What do I need to wear? What do I need to bring? And what time are we leaving? That's really all you need to know for your adventure, right? That's what do I need to bring? What do I need to wear? What time are we leaving? So off we went, and we were about 30 miles away when she saw the sign for the Oz Museum and guessed that was our final destination. Of course, I didn't confirm that until we took the sign under the highway to Oz. Hey, it's a trip. You stop and take pictures wherever you feel like when you're on a trip, right? So what was fun about that is we did that, and that was kind of like our main, but then we took the back way on the way home, and we saw a cute little coffee shop, and so we had iced tea. And then my husband saw this Catholic church that was stunning, and he said, can we stop and go in? Well, sure. We're on an adventure. Of course we could stop at the Catholic church and go in. And that was something that was meaningful to him. It was important to him, so we did it, and it meant something for him on his journey. Now, of course, we were sort of heading home-ish, but we were also ready to see where our adventure took us. We skipped the interstate because the interstate is helpful when you want to make sure you get somewhere on time, like being here on time. That was good to take the interstate. But it's good to not take the interstate when you have the chance to, Because then you just might see something. You need to stop and pull over, take a picture, get a cup of coffee, whatever it is. Sit in the Catholic church, light a candle. Last summer, when my sister and I were staying with my mom in Oregon, we would always visit the beach after church because the church is like really literally like across the street from the church, which is pretty cool. And my sister, like I said, loves adventures, so we would not just walk along the beach like regular people. We would go in through the rocks and climb and do all sorts of things. Not that we were going to really go anywhere, but it was our little adventures. It gave us a new perspective. It gave us a chance to see things that we wouldn't have normally seen just because there's different things in among the rocks than there are just on the regular beach. And it was also a fun way for us to work together as a team and be reminded that we work really well as a team. We know each other well because, well, we're sisters. So adventure doesn't always mean having to go somewhere or engaging in a particular physical task. The very first definition, as you may recall, is an exciting or very unusual experience. Now that could be lots of things. That could be going to college, becoming a parent, starting or ending or being in a relationship, moving across town or moving across the country. Now I think of my mom when I think of the spiritual practice of adventure because she was inspired to start her own business. An alpaca fiber mill. Let's go back to unusual experience. She knew this is what she wanted to do, and so she got backers, she built the mill building, she found the machines she needed, which are not like just something you go down and order. It's complicated. And she put all the pieces in place. Now, there were plenty of tears. There were plenty of demons to fight. There was plenty of obstacles. But this was her journey, and she knew it, and that was what she was doing. Now, it was certainly an exciting undertaking, as well as an unusual experience. It fits under the definition of adventure. And this summer, she celebrated 10 years in business. And every year, her numbers have been better than the year before. What more could you ask for? And she's having a lovely time, which is really what it's about, right? She's having a lovely time, and she has 3 part-time employees, so go her, right? Because she followed what she knew. She did the call. She followed that. And that also, same kind of spiritual adventure journey thing is what got my parents moved from Washington to Oregon. It's time to go. Okay, off they went. Now, we've come to the part where I urge you to engage in your spiritual practice of adventure. You must have an adventuring hat. It can be a figurative adventuring hat. You don't actually have to have an actual hat, but, you know. If it helps, go for it, right? Or if you need a special, I don't know, thing that you put on your dashboard when you're on an adventure trip instead of just a regular trip, whatever it takes. So, your homework, your things to think about, your ideas for having a spiritual adventure, whatever you want to call it. So, 1, living the spirit of adventure. What does that mean? Be a tourist. Be curious. Is there a road that you've always wondered, where does that go? There was a road just like in Independence, just the next town over, that I was always wondering, where does that go? I found out it ended up being my favorite, now it's my favorite back route from Costco back down to Lee Summit. But I didn't know it connected. Tried it out one day. Going on an adventure. Take a day trip and explore a town that you've never been to. Sure, you may have GPS, and that is great to have to bail you out if absolutely necessary. But try to do it with just a map. Now that's an adventure in and of itself, right? Go down to AAA, get your map, see what you can find out. You know, there's lots of great, interesting stuff in those little books that they have, you know. Okay, so another thing, take a new way. Now, you may have heard, I've heard many times that it's good for your brain to not always go the same route because you're more stimulated. When you might see new things, you're engaged and present. You're not on autopilot. One day, I was meaning to go to the store from dropping my husband off from work, and I ended up at home, and I was like, well, shoot, this isn't where I'm meant to be. Because because I was totally on autopilot. And so I really wasn't present to what was going on or where my plan was, and I was just doing the same thing. Of course, I have to say that the route to home and the route to the grocery store are very similar. So, anyway. But I was not engaged in present. So if you take a different route, that's just another way, it's a little thing, maybe, but, and maybe the route to your work or whatever is the most direct route, and that's not a good choice. The route to somewhere, route to church, whatever. Just see what you can find, see what you see. Give yourself a little extra time so you don't have to freak out. Just check it out. You can travel by food. Go to a new restaurant. Try that new, strange-looking vegetable in the produce department. Or a vegetable that you just never tried before, even though it's been there for a long time. With the internet and supermarkets, you can get a recipe from anywhere and probably find the stuff you need to try it out. Or ask a friend for their favorite different recipe. It's a new taste adventure, an adventure for your stomach. Another thing, embrace the hero's journey. Follow your guidance. Learn from your demons. Make peace with those nightmares. And be reborn a more authentic and true you. Live that wisdom you have received, and then rinse and repeat. You just keep going and going and going. Listen to the voice of Spirit within you. What is calling you? Is there a new business to be launched? Is there a new move to be made? Is there a book to read, a friend to call, a class to take, a team to coach? Say yes to the nudges, or at least be willing to take them seriously. Remember that only you know what your adventure entails. Others may suggest routes, and they may even journey with you for a bit. But it is your journey alone. And while there may not be a whole lot of geographic places left to be the first person to explore, your inner journey is there, always calling you. So, be brave like Indiana Jones and have a great adventure. Thank you.